I'm in the garage with the bugs and all. But no, seriously, I have a ton of minis that I am going to paint pretty much the rest of the year because I hate cleaning the airbrush, but I really only like to prime with the airbrush these days. I don't really like using Ralcan. I'm going to get all those cleaned up, and that's boring. You don't want to watch that. But if you do, I've got it in a bunch of other videos. So today I'm going to make bases in my own old school basing texture. So let's get to it. Shirt on because I had to re-edit this part because it was terrible. It was even worse than it's going to be right now. But when I first started the hobby, you had to make all your own basing terrain, all your own terrain, right? You could buy Woodland Scenic stuff, but it was dumb expensive. There was no hobby stores, there was no LGSs. If you were lucky, you had a hobby town. You had a comic shop that let you play war games and Magic the Gathering there. But this stuff, this diorama effects, these texture pastes, as the kids call them today, they didn't exist, and you had to make your own. So I've made texture paste before. It failed miserably, so I'm going all the way back to old school. One, because I want to use it on models I'm going to paint in the old school way, but two, because it's super cheap and it's a recession. Okay, one thing to point out is you want all-purpose sand. You don't want playground sand, and this is wet, so it's kind of hard to see. But all-purpose sand there's different sizes and there's different chunks mixed in. So like if you get playground sand or sandbox sand, it's all going to be very fine particles and it's not going to look as good as when you get these different size chunks. Okay, next up, I went to the dollar store. It's not even, I shouldn't even call it dollar store anymore because America is in the toilet. It's like the $1.50 store. But I got two tins. There's cheap cookie tins. But you need these because the sand that's in that bag is going to be wet. Just from condensation, from who knows what they're doing to it at Home Depot. It's wet and you want it dry, but also you got to bake it in the oven to kill any bacteria or any yucky things in it that will grow, mold, whatever. You just got to do. You got to throw it in the oven. So that's what these are for. So I don't mess up any of my other like real food. The other thing you're going to want is either used coffee grounds, and you can throw that in the oven too. You definitely want to bake that because you got to dry it out and also kill anything that's been hanging out in it after you brewed it. Or cheap cat litter. You want the cheap, I think it's made of shale. You don't want like scent beads or like any of the newer cat litter. You just want the old like clay, rocky kind, and that's to give you just a little bit bigger rock chunks in your basing material. I use coffee grounds because I drink a ton of coffee, so I always have it. So I ran out. I did this literally 11 years ago was the last time I had to do it. And I'm finally out of it all. So I got to do it again. So I just saved the last couple of days worth of coffee grounds. I'm going to just throw that. One trail will be sand, one trail will be coffee grounds. I keep them separate. Eventually I'll mix them together. But let's do that. And then okay, actually this jar fell behind my workbench. So you can see, that's why the jar itself looks a little gnarly. But you can see it's roughly like the same particle size. I mean, I'm sure it'll probably be different based on the grind, but this is actually cat litter. This is the cat litter I'm talking about. And then that is the coffee grounds. So you can see they're actually different sizes. So you can do all three if you really want to. Okay, in terms of actually baking it, sterilization needs 140 degrees, I think, for like 15 minutes. Like it has to reach 140 degrees for 15 minutes. You can take it there. What I just do, I put it on 300 and then I set a timer for 20 minutes. I forget about the timer. I don't hear it going off. And then I just go back into the kitchen when I smell a weird smell, and that's when I pull it out. But what I'm going to do is 300 degrees, 20 minutes. And I'm going to do a layer, like a thin layer. I'll check it. Usually like a top crustal form. I'll stick a spoon in there and like stir that up. Let it sit at like 300 degrees, 20 minutes. It should kill everything. It's not like a real science, you know, you just don't want anything like super nasty growing, and that'll also definitely prevent the mold, any mold. And it's wet as hell. So that's really what you want, but you don't want to store it wet for much longer. Like that's a fresh bag and it's still super wet. So you really don't want that, or it will mold, especially because I'm in the garage. Okay, so this is going in the oven now. Okay, so this is the sand dried out. You can actually see, I don't need to mix anything into this. That playground sand is really good. It's almost like those pieces right there are almost too big, but you can see the variations in the sedimentary layers, if I remember my earth science class. So I'm gonna, this is I bleach. Oh yeah, this is just an animal cracker jug. I bleached this before I put the sand in, and you might think I'm being over cautious, but nothing sucks more than painting a model and then you put it on the shelf and you come back to it 2 weeks later and the base is covered in mold. And especially here in Virginia, when I'm in the basement, you just always got to kind of work out for that. But anyway, you don't want to just take the rocks off the top. You want to make sure, I'm going to spill it, You want to make sure you get some of the actual like fine grained sand at the bottom and sparingly use those rocks. So when I go and do the rest of that bag of sand and fill this thing up, I'm probably going to use a sieve and filter out these big boys so I have a lot less of those in it next time. But once you get it all dry and you can actually see the difference to it, like that's really like, this is kind of the effect that we want on our actual bases to get all the difference in texture. So now we're ready for our bases. Okay, so it took literally all day for these to dry. I haven't done the second coat of glue yet. That's what I'm about to do. But I just wanted to show you, like, there's a little bit coming off, you know? So there's still some that needs to come off, but even without the second coat, like I'm dropping these and there's stuff's not coming off. This fine sand really does a good job at soaking it up. I'm gonna paint these obviously, but if you wanted to go for the sand texture, when you get this playground sand that has all these different types of rocks in it, it really just looks good. A couple things to watch out for, like I don't have to bust off this big guy right here probably. I didn't push the glue all the way out to the end, and that's fine. I'm gonna use the finer sand to close it in. I got my mushrooms over there in the corner, dripping off the extra resin. So I'm gonna get some more isopropyl alcohol and really mix this in with the glue. Okay, so this is just, it's 90% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just, no glue. I'm just gonna spray the top of the bases real quick, because this way it gets the same result and is actually a little faster. And you can like, don't have to worry about spilling it. I mean, you don't want to spill it because you don't want to waste it, but you can let it go over because it's gonna evaporate. Okay, just remembered I already have, or actually, is this glue? Just remembered from the board we did, I have the glue mix that I already want. So, hitting it, and we want this very thin because this will soak in just across the base, and it's gonna make these bases bulletproof pretty much and lock it in. Okay, on some of them it's gonna take all night. I did sprinkle a little bit more on some of the patchier spots, but this is gonna take like all night to dry now. So tomorrow morning we'll be back and we'll get them painted. Thanks for watching.